I have some insanely bad news for everyone watching this. The man can keep getting away with it. How did he get away with it? Well, we're going to let you know very shortly. It is the Week 6 NFL DFS Recap Gillcast show. Davis Maddox, Sammy, Reid, Nate Nohling with you, recapping what happened in cash games and in tournaments. And in Week 6, I think a very rare combination of the show where we all made money on DraftKings. Does that mean that there's not going to be any anger or any harsh words spread amongst these three men? I don't think so, because I am unbelievably pissed off with what Nate rolled out in cash games on DraftKings, and we're going to get there. I guess let's just start from here. There were two huge train teams this week in cash games. It was a 2v2, and we'll get into the specifics of that 2v2. But I guess, did either of you consider anything radically different than what you did play at all? Like, I never really considered anything that looked that different than what I had.
Yeah, I highly considered that team that I sent you guys earlier that was punting tight end or wide receiver 3 with like either Flournoy.
You had Flournoy. The Tez Johnson people got there with a 50-yard touchdown.
Yeah, I know. But
Sammy sent something wild this morning that the listeners are like, they wish they got that. I mean, that was a ridiculous team.
That team would have smashed, bro.
Sammy sent a team this morning that was Drake May, Rico Dowdle, Rachaad White, Ryan Flournoy, Teteroy McMillan, Puka Nacua, Michael Mayer, CMC, and the Titans defense. I think it actually would not have smashed as hard as you think.
Yeah, because I had Puka, not JSN.
Because you had Puka, not JSN, and you absolutely had to play. JSN, to me, was first guy in. We could probably talk a little bit more about JSN versus Puka when we get to the tournament stuff. But Nate, did you consider much different than what you did play?
Yes. I think your team up until probably an hour before lock. This was the team I had, I think, from like Saturday morning till yesterday, or till like an hour before lock.
Yeah. Okay. So the team that I played,
put it out there,
scored 153.92 points. If I navigate over here to the massive, this is the giant $50 double up play. We're already to the point of the year where they're done doing the massive $50. It's down to the giant because people are already retiring. If you look over here at the left column, you can just see all the teams that also played the 153 point. I mean,
everybody who didn't play Rico Dowdle and cash last week is retired.
Everyone who didn't play Rico is done. I mean, I'm scrolling. I'm still scrolling. At least 20% of the pool or whatever played this. Maybe not 20%, but a lot of people played this team. And this team was Trevor Lawrence, Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle, Puka Nacua, nice 4.8 points from him, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Chris Olave, Michael Mayer, Rachaad White, and the Miami Dolphins defense.
This was easily the most professional team of the slate.
This was
an adult team, a grown-up team, really bulletproof from top to bottom. There was no like really bad plays. Everything was solid. And in a week where the pricing was like really tight, you can't really go stars and scrubs, right? You have to have like a really strong, well-balanced team. That's what this was. So I commend you for being an adult, Davis. As an father.
Lawrence at 5,100 was just like, Seattle had the cluster injuries with their defensive back. Thought he was pretty straightforward. Javonte, I actually I really hated to play Javonte. It pained me. I tried a lot of different ways. It just didn't make sense.
Go figure. Javonte Williams, who's been like Jesus walking on water the entire season, finally he gets played in cash and facing Carolina, who's just mega ass, and he just falls on his face. Of course, this is the first time. Obviously,
it's the most obvious thing of all time. Rico Dowdle, again, just about as obvious as it gets to play Rico Dowdle. Puka, the best player in fantasy football. The 2v2 that most people had to consider from like a high level was, do I want to play Puka or do I want to play CMC? The I actually thought the CMC 2v2 was pretty good. And in fact, I believe that team scored 192.2 points because it was Christian McCaffrey, Ladd McConkey in the Raiders defense versus Puka Nacua, Javonte Williams, and the Dolphins defense. And that part, I mean, every part of the Raiders defense smashed, Ladd smashed. CMC scored 20 more points than Puka Nacua, so absolute smash. JSN was the first guy in. I think he was basically the best play of the entire slate. Chris Olave, I mean, let's be honest, dude. No one ever feels good about playing Chris Olave.
That's why I went to 2v2, by the way. I didn't want to play Chris Olave.
Then you get to Michael Mayer, who is fascinating to deal with here because he clearly was so much better than Hunter Long, but you did kind of need the $600. That's the thing, is he was way better than Hunter Long, but you did kind of need the $600. Rachaad White in the flex was a layup. Then the Dolphins defense against the Chargers they were just the cheap defense. So Nate, the big 2v2 and the 2v2 that Sammy played was Sammy did Hunter Long and Ladd McConkey versus Chris Olave and Michael Mayer. So Sammy, why did you do that side of the 2v2?
Yeah, great question. Kind of wondering that myself. It ended up, being a little bit even, but because the train was so big on that side, you know what I mean? Like it
Yes.
definitely cost me a couple shekels. But it was really the upside of Ladd McConkey. So I felt that, and I said this in our chat, Michael Mayer was clearly better than Hunter Long, like quite a bit better. But I'm always willing to take my chances eating a dick on tight end, especially low price tight end, where it really comes down to like, do you score or not? Then like Chris Olave, who we talked about him last week. Like he's going to get 10 targets. He's a great play. He's in the dome. He's, whatever, 5,100. It's just like, it's a good play. But he just never gets there. He just doesn't get there. He's incapable of getting there. He doesn't. Incapable. I don't have it in front of me, but I'd love to see his yak and broken tackle numbers. Like I feel like he never gets any yards after the catch. He's like young Tyler Lockett, and his ADOT has gone way down this year. Of course, he catches a 53-yarder on the second or third play of the game, and I'm like, oh, dude, I'm screwed. And he ended up having a great game. He got his 10 targets. Of course, couldn't quite get there, getting over the bonus. But I thought with Quentin Johnson out against Miami, I thought Ladd could outscore Olave plus Mayer by himself. And I think he tried, and I think it would have happened if Mayer didn't get in the zone. Mayer was clearly a big part of this game plan, and whatever. But I wanted to go for the upside, and I thought Ladd McConkey. I just thought clearly he had so much upside here. I was willing to take the short end of the stick at backup min price tight end. So
Hunter Long has 0 career games with more than 3 targets. He's been in the NFL for 5 years. I stared long and hard.
I wish you would have scored, and you guys could be like, Sammy, how's this tight end? I was scoring. This fucking guy, missed opportunity. Come on, Hunter Long.
There was a 0% chance I was playing Hunter Long. I mean,
yeah, I know.
I knew Sammy was going to play this. I mean, this is the prototypical Sammy tight end nonsense play. And there was just not a chance I was going to play it. But Sammy is sharp. The Ladd move was objectively sharp. I think I don't agree with you on the over Olave thing, but your analysis of Ladd, I think, was sharp.
Yeah, I mean, what I ended up doing, I ended up getting Nacua, JSN, and McConkey at receiver. I got the 3 value running backs.
I thought Ladd was phenomenally good. I tried to get Ladd. And it's why I considered playing the CMC side of this. CMC and Ladd instead of Javonte and Puka. And I actually didn't even really want to play Puka. I played Puka in 0 of my tournament teams on FanDuel or DraftKings. Not because of anything specifically about him, but because I thought JSN was a better play at less ownership and for less dollars. He was 800 less on FanDuel. He was 1,000 less on DraftKings. And there was like the weird like weather stuff in Baltimore, although it ended up not raining at all. It was supposed to be rainy and wet. But man, I really wanted to play Ladd. Didn't end up doing it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I was like, Michael Mayer was a second-round pick. He was pretty like fine as a rookie. He wasn't great as a rookie. He was fine. Then the team drafts Brock Bowers and like, well, what do you want him to do? He's teammates with Brock Bowers. Like it just, it's over. And pretty clearly when the game started, like he was a huge part of the game plan. He led them in receiving today, or did Trey Tucker tip him at the end?
I mean, Mayer was a legitimate talent. I mean, if it wasn't for Bowers getting drafted, we would be talking about Mayer with like Tucker Kraft and other guys like that. I mean, Mayer was a legitimate talent when he was drafted. It was just Bauer screwed him. So I get the Mayer thing as well. But I think the Ladd play was like the value he became at wide receiver. When you take out QJ's like volume, Ladd becomes just such a good play.
Yeah, and I'd be really curious to see how the route running turned around because, QJ is like their deep threat, right? He's been their like intermediate to deep guy. But all of a sudden, when he's out, you have decrepit Keenan Allen, and then you have Ladd, and it's like, okay, obviously Ladd and QJ are not like the same player. They're not like similar players. But does Ladd take that like deep and intermediate role? Like who else is going to play that for them?
And they were also always going to go more pass heavy, which they did. They went super pass heavy without Hampton. Like they were just chucking the ball the entire game. Like
this game environment, I wanted that smoke. This is the smoke I wanted. I didn't want, New England, New Orleans. Like I'm cool. That's
But by the way, is there anything more obvious in the history of fantasy football than Chris Olave getting to 98 yards with 10 minutes left of a game? And then
it was third quarter. It was third quarter, 98.
There was no hope of Chris Olave getting the 100-yard bonus. Like he gets
0%. Davis texted us like at the beginning of the fourth. He's like, he's never going to get there. He was trying to reverse Matic mush it, and even that couldn't work.
I've never been more confident of anything in my life that we get this guy to 98 yards. And I was like, oh, if you don't, because it was like kind of a long play when he got there. It was like he went from, I think, 85 to 98 and he got tackled. And I was like, oh yeah, and he had a touchdown in his
a touchdown on his fingertips. Like it would have been a tough play, but like he's a really good receiver. Like he should have made that. That would have been a smash because that would have got him over. I mean, butterfly effect, but that's more yardage, touchdown, catch, like smash day for Olave. But he just refuses to get there.
Yeah. So I thought long and hard about it. I tried to make a Drake May team work because I thought Drake May was certainly a better play than
so much better. This is why I sent you guys that assy ass lineup because I was like, dude, Trevor Lawrence, we have a large data set of it not being him, right? Drake May is him.
Although he's
much
better for fantasy football than he is for real life football. His DraftKings scores historically are not nearly as bad as you think.
They're fine. He was fine at 5,100. I played him. You played him. He was totally fine. But Drake May is like, mini Josh Allen essentially. And, to get that for under 6K is really great too. It just with the tight pricing, it was really tough to get there unless you were Nate Nohling, who played Juwan Johnson, and you just like smash it. Nate, dude, let's talk about Nate's lineup. I'm tired. Right, I'm tired of our chalk.
Let's just get this fucking bullshit ass. Nate, I am so goddamn pissed. You played the tight end 3 on the New Orleans Saints for more money than Michael Mayer. You fade the Puka Nacua injury. You don't even randomly pay up for defense. I have never been so pissed off at a lineup that you played. And I was pissed off at this lineup at 12:30 Central Time. I could not believe you turned over Juwan Johnson and Chris Olave. You learned nothing from your Raiders experience. You learned nothing from your Saints experience. You learned nothing.
What's wrong, Nate? You couldn't find a third Saint to get in there? You didn't want to jam Rashid Shaheed into the flex?
You didn't think about Kamara? Oh my God, dude. Oh, it's so frustrating. the Juwan Johnson just out of nowhere. This guy's projected like the 19th best tight end on the slate. Foster Moreau's back playing half the snaps. Taysom's getting all this Wildcat bullshit. And Nate's like, yeah, dude, we're jamming in Juwan Johnson.
Nate, what do you have to say for yourself, bro? What is this?
Okay, so it does start with Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey was the thing that threw me off today. So I was like, I have to get Ladd in. So when I started building Ladd teams, there wasn't a Ladd team that I didn't like the Ladd like train, because the Ladd train had Hunter Long. The Ladd train also didn't have CMC. I really did think I wanted CMC over Puka this week. I thought
totally, completely defensible. You could have showed up with the CMC Ladd team, and I would have been like, wow.
But there wasn't a CMC Ladd team. The CMC Ladd team also had I don't think there was. The two biggest trains.
Nate, it's the team you fucking have with Michael Mayer. It's just the Juwan Johnson team. Juwan Johnson has no place here. What are we doing?
Okay, tight end is not okay. Let me talk about Ladd. I was going to play Ladd. When I decided I was going to play Ladd, then it became I was looking at the team that faded Olave. Sammy's team, basically, the Hunter Long team. And there was a 0% chance I was going to fade Olave at this price. I thought that JSN, Ladd, and Olave were the three best wide receiver values of the slate. Obviously, Puka's a great play, but I just wasn't going to also fade Olave. I thought a lot of people were going to show up with one of the Tampa Bay wide receivers. I thought people were going to go Tez or Shepard, and I felt really good about having Olave, McConkey, and JSN. And then, but you texted and said, like, it doesn't get you anything. And it's true. It didn't really get me anything. And so then when I started building, I realized I could get off of Lawrence and get up to May. And that's when I did. And I got weird when I had May. I was like, might as well just go in on the game stack. And I ended up with, I felt better about Juwan Johnson than Long. So
well, yes, not playing Hunter Long is like, honestly, Hunter Long is a right tackle. He is a useless football player.
Yeah, when Johnny Mundt got 2 targets before Hunter Long got one, I was like, yeah, I screwed up here.
Nate, there is a Hunter Long available. There's a Hunter Long available on every slate. There's a Luke Musgrave. There's always a Ross Dwelly in the banana stand.
Wait, well, don't besmirch Ross Dwelly. He died so that Jake Tongas could live. But Nate, why didn't you play Mayer in the Tennessee defense? Like, what is this? Why didn't you do that?
I just felt better about the Dolphins and Juwan.
I know what happened. He just didn't want to leave the salary.
No,
he didn't want to leave the salary.
That's 200 each way.
No, it's 200
more than the Dolphins.
No, you didn't want to play Michael Mayer and leave the Dolphins defense.
No, I honestly do think Juwan at this price was a fine play. I thought that with Drake May,
he's not.
Yes. At back home, Spencer Rattler was going to be forced to throw. I think that May, like that game stack, is something that I want. I'm already playing May. Olave was a smash. I didn't sweat Juwan over Mayer that much. I thought Juwan was going to outscore Mayer.
Juwan Johnson with a nice 15% targets per route run. Foster Moreau back, 81% of the routes. I'm just
Michael Mayer, dude. Davis is saying this guy has pedigree, like legitimate pedigree. He's a good player.
Well, when you've played the Raiders enough, I think.
Nate is inside the mind of the Raiders.
Geno Smith getting benched mid-game. And that just being Genty for 30 carries, like I don't know.
This is what happened. Nate
to me, I'm not really going to sweat like tight end like that. Obviously, I wanted McBride. If I could have built a team with McBride, I freaking would have.
Yeah, of course.
But I think the real decision was CMC versus Puka, and then getting Ladd in, and whether or not you wanted the wide receiver value. I thought that the rest of it was whatever. I think that getting May over Lawrence made me feel much better about this lineup. I'm not going to be concerned about tight end like that.
Davis,
No,
this is what Davis.
May over Lawrence is honestly May over Lawrence was good. I
really
think
good.
I think Nate has a really strong team. I think the strongest thing that Nate did was just be like, okay, I'm not going to play this giant train team just because everyone else is playing it. I'm going to play CMC, who I think is a better play than Puka. I'm going to play Ladd because Ladd is a really good play, and it's just the Juwan Johnson thing. And then obviously like Nate.
No. I'm not giving that credit. I'm not giving that credit. Sorry, Nate. I'm taking it back. You faded two of the great plays of the slate, Puka Nacua and Javonte Williams. And they were the two plays that totally died.
This lineup I didn't even need CMC. You realize that I was, even if Puka scores 20 here, Puka could score 30 and I would still be up on you guys. It wasn't because of the Puka injury that this team smashed. This team just didn't have a weak spot.
It would have. Okay, so if you subtract 20 points, yeah, I mean you still beat us.
Yeah. I get that the Puka stuff makes it look a lot better because it's a bigger swing. But the reality is, I don't know. I'm not going to sweat tight end that way. And I do think if you're already playing Drake May, if you're already playing Olave, you're already playing into that game stack, I don't think that taking tight end, this isn't fading Trey McBride. This is fading Hunter Long and Michael Mayer. And I don't know. I felt fine about it.
Well, fading Hunter Long.
When I run the Sims post lock, I do look at it and say, objectively, a 2v2 of Titans D and Mayer is better, but I'm not going to sweat that. I think that the biggest decisions this week in cash were whether or not you wanted to get Ladd in, and then whether or not you wanted to play Olave, or whether or not you wanted to play CMC or Puka.
Yeah, and everyone sided the Puka side. Puka was way more owned than CMC.
Puka was very owned.
But the thing is, it's all about the replacement value. It's not like people are choosing who's better between McCaffrey and Puka. It's more people are choosing who's better between Javonte Williams and Ladd McConkey.
I'd love to.
But I do think people are down on CMC. People are down on CMC this year. There is a reality of people are discounting his workload because of the lack of touchdowns, because of the lack of efficiency on his workload. And I don't think people are realizing just how historic McCaffrey's volume is right now.
Yeah, he's going to catch 120 passes, dude.
He's literally getting a double expected points. He's getting double-digit expected points from both rushing and receiving every week. His volume is so good right now. And so I do think that's an edge that I have on the field of I'm not going to be shook by a little bit of a lack of efficiency with CMC. When he's getting this volume, I'm going to play him until he gets hurt.
I think that is, like I said, structurally, Nate, I think you did a courageous and correct thing, which was to do CMC over Puka to get Ladd in because Ladd was such a good play. So if CMC and Puka are a draw, you still have the better team because you don't have the Olave. You don't have you don't have the blank spot. Yeah. You don't have Javonte. Yeah. Who was let's just be real, Javonte is just either he gets a touchdown or he doesn't.
No. Not so. Javonte's workload has been really insane. By XFP. He's been
Javonte has a great workload too. I mean, it's
great. And he ended up, dude, he had 8 targets in this game. He had 13 rushes and 8 targets.
Workload of the year.
I mean, he just sucks, so he didn't get there. But
I don't know. I just felt we could go back and forth all day about tight end, but I'm not.
There's just one other interesting thing that there is to bring up. And I don't know if either of you guys have started to think about this, but just how much the top ETR teams are getting duped. Does that make either of you guys think differently about building teams? Or look at this 153.92. is just so duped. And I think it was pretty, like Nate's or like Sammy said, just a very professional ass team. I do wonder if I would have been like, knowing it was this duped, I maybe would have been more incentivized to do the CMC team because it projected pretty close. The CMC lad team, like, which was just a straight 2v2, and I think you could straight up get to May.
But no one played that team. I don't see that team as any,
because people are not thinking for themselves. They are just running the train, and it's only going to get worse because the train has been so good. Like, it's only going to get more and more people playing that team.
Yeah, the trains have been really good. The
only
optos.
I see with CMC in the double ups had Brian Thomas Jr. and faded and had Jalen Warren.
Well, I can't speak for other user behavior. All I can tell you is that the train has been insane, and we are getting to the part of the year where the field sizes are going to be small enough and the user base is going to be so condensed enough that it's going to be like you have the clear winning score and you don't even double your money up because you tied with so many other users, which has happened before. Like, as we get to like week 9, week 10, that happens. So I do think it is worth thinking about. All right. We actually can pull up the SPY, and then I'll pull up Nate's analysis. I had a team that was, I thought pretty good. I'm curious to see what Nate's analysis of it will be. I played Trevor Lawrence at 10%. That's not the right team. I played Trevor Lawrence. I played Javonte Williams. I played Kyron Williams on all my DraftKings teams. I thought he was going to be way less owned than he was. I was actually stunned to see him be like a top 10 ownership player. I thought with all the Rico Dowdle, all the Rashad White, all the Javonte, then you toss in, JT teams, CMC teams. I thought no chance. So I was actually stunned by this. JSN at 30%, Brian Thomas Jr. at 12, had the 54-yard touchdown called back because Travis Hunter lined up offside. Didn't love that. Ladd McConkey, Michael Mayer at 7% felt insane. That felt like, if everyone's playing this guy in cash, why are we not playing him in tournaments? I played Josh Jacobs and I played the Dolphins defense. Nate, before I pull up the Sims, what do you think about this team?
So I really like this team overall. I think that the reason I actually had a lot of teams that were similar to this. The reason I really struggled this week with tournaments is because as much as Lawrence projected well, there was no good stack with him. Didn't project to be overowned. Brian Thomas projected to be one of the worst, like at ownership adjusted, like upside versus ownership plays. You just knew he was going to get steamed. And Hunter Long was not a guy I was going to like. So there was nobody I wanted to stack with Lawrence. And so I really struggled with Lawrence in tournaments. And so, I don't know. What did you think Thomas's ownership was going to be?
Well, it was more this. I was running Sims like all morning, and basically it was all the stacks were so flat. Like, I'd run Jordan Love stuff, and all the top Jordan Love teams would be in the same band of ROI as all the top Daniel Jones teams, and all the Trevor Lawrence teams were the same. And then I was getting like Mac Jones stuff, and then I was getting Spencer Rattler stuff. And so like I took a step back and I was like, well, honestly, what that's telling me is that a lot of the stuff is probably pretty flat, and a lot of stuff is probably going to be really similarly owned. There probably aren't going to be too many like 20% owned quarterback, 30% owned wide receiver stuff. Like, that's probably pretty uncommon. So there's probably going to be 8 stacks where the quarterback is between 5 and 10%, and the wide receiver is between 10 and 20%. And if that's the case in the size of this field, which is 4,444 entrants, then it'll probably be like my post lock sim ROI should probably be pretty steady if I don't have a great read. And maybe that's wrong, but that was my thought.
Yeah, the one part about this, and I'm sure people will analyze this all week when we look at actual ownership. So the running backs, basically you're playing a game every week of who's going to get steamed, who's going to come in squeezed, and ultimately you fell on the two that got steamed and lost out on the two that got squeezed. So Jacobs coming in at 34.2 is going to kill you. Kyren coming in at 24 is not going to be great. Because Rachaad White and CMC, guys who projected way better, came in way under-owned. Basically, Jacobs took all of Rashaad's ownership, and Rachaad ended up at like 20%. And so Rachaad versus Jacobs looks like a terrible play in comparison to ownership. So I think, it looks like Jacobs hurts you. Kyren doesn't sim great at that ownership. But
the projections here's the deal. The projections are a little bit wrong about Kyren because first off, they don't know he starts every game with 6 points. So that they got that wrong. The other thing that I think was pretty clear, and I don't know how, I only know how nerdy sims handle this. I don't know how your sim and how other sims handle it. But Kyren getting points, the way he gets points, directly takes away from Puka Nacua. Him succeeding directly harms the 40% or what other teams that played Puka Nacua. That was why I was so in. Part of why I was so in to Kyren. I also just thought this dude 6,300. He should be the same price as Josh Jacobs. So I was, and I don't know if I knew he was 24%. I probably would not have played him. Nate. So this is 7.51% sim ROI. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, but pre-lock it probably would have been way higher. Pre-lock.
I was going to say this was all I didn't take it exactly from Run the Sims, but these were all amongst top 5 optimal
Yeah, so the reason this will sim bad in my stuff post is, they're not bad, but 7% versus probably 80% pre is the two worst plays that you have, Brian Thomas Jr. and Josh Jacobs, were such a significant portion of your salary. So paying up at Josh Jacobs being your most expensive play and him being 35% owned hurts.
Yeah. Okay, I think I've got a Sammy team to pull up, and then I also have his. All right, Sammy. This was in the red zone. Why did you want to talk about this team instead of your spy team? What is because you played Flournoy?
No, because I played Judkins. So this team is Dak double stacked with Flournoy and Pickens. And I really liked what we saw from Flournoy last week. It's not just box score chasing. They got him 2 rushes. Apparently he's been hearing all week about, side speed and, that he's got actual ability. And, and I thought he would be a really nice kind of pivot off the Tez Johnson. I thought Tez would be the punt receiver that everyone was playing. So I wanted to do that. And then I thought there was a real natural bring back with Ted McMillan. I wanted to play Ted a lot. And what we're seeing, obviously, is what the Sims have been telling us for a while now is you don't have to bring it back. But if you have a bring back that makes sense in terms of value, that's really good. And I thought Tet fit that bill. So that was kind of what I wanted to do with the stack. But then around it, kind of what was in my head was look, the chalk has been so good this year. It's been so freaking good this year. And one of these weeks, the chalk is going to totally bust. And somebody who goes way off kilter is really going to smash. So I didn't play any of the big running backs, the cash game guys, Rachaad White and Javonte Williams. Obviously, I didn't want to play Javonte. And
this is so way too fucking far off the board, dude.
I know it is. I know it is. I know it is, which is why I wanted to talk about it. So what I ended up playing was Ashton Ginty, who I thought was in a great great spot against a bad defense at
he
home.
He got mega squeezed. He ended up being super chalk.
Yeah. So Genty, Josh Jacobs, we already talked about that. And then Judkins as the pivot off Dowdle. They were basically the same price. And Tongas has been scoring points. I played him at tight end. Tongas has been scoring points every week. Like, they're running tight end screens to him. Like, Tongas is a G. And then I put Genty together with the Raiders defense as like kind of that mini correlation. But the thing is this, like, when I step back and look, this was just a touch too fancy. If I played Dowdle instead of Judkins, I was already different enough. If I played Dowdle instead of Judkins, this is a plus 33 points. This is a top 25 finish in this contest.
That's why you don't play. Not that there's no room to ever play a 2%, but you don't need to play 2% on Judkins with Flournoy and Tonjes and Pickens.
That's right. That's exactly right. So that's why I wanted to throw this team out there.
Because when
2% Judkins comes in at 12% and Rachaad White comes in at 19%.
Yeah. Right.
That really hurts.
Wait, I'm reading the screenshot wrong. I thought that's a 2%. 12% Judkins might be the worst play this year.
Yeah.
that's my Sims post locks, Sammy. As soon as I pulled this up, I'm like, why is this team? Oh, you have Genty and Judkins.
Crown me with the terrible play. So I think
these three running backs were the most steamed. All three of them were like the highest steamed plays.
Yeah, that's ETR's fault. I think on Establish the Show or like something like that. They were touting Judkins, and I'm not gonna lie, listen to that shit, and I was like, yo, Judkins is actually a really great play. Like, the Steelers can't stop the run. Judkins looks like Adrian Peterson light. Let's go, and then I get 12%, 3.6 points. So I think the point is this, like, it's cool to get different. But I think this is a really good lesson in you just can't go too far off the reservation. I mean, playing Judkins instead of Dowdle cost me like $700. It's just like, not ideal, man. Not ideal. So
the way
bad
to
job
think
me.
about it is basically like, you just don't want to be too many points off of whatever the optimal lineup is. And I don't know, like, if I went and ran this right now, it'd be like, I don't know, 25 points off or something, which is a lot of points to make up. Also, I assumed Tet had a great game. I did not realize that he scored 2 touchdowns and got 17 points.
Yeah.
I just honestly
Tet lucked out, man.
Yeah, I honestly did not realize that.
Yeah.
Nate, you said you wanted to do your double spy team.
Mm-hmm.
Hit me.
So the reason
79% ROI, Nate.
Well, the reason I wanted to break down this team was because when you look at this team, you think this is an unplayable team. It's way too high owned. Pre-lock, you would look at this team and think this is a cash team. Daniel Jones, Rico Dowdle, Rachaad White, Chris Olave, Ladd McConkey, Tet, Tyler Warren, Christian McCaffrey, and Ravens D. I mean, that projection of 146 is like not too far off the optimal. Yet Daniel Jones came in at 3.2% and Tyler Warren came in at single digits. Olave and Ladd all came in. Well, Olave came in. Yeah, I mean, I would have expected Olave to come in at 25+% in this contest. And so basically what I'm saying is, like, sometimes the chalky, well-projected plays that people just aren't on for whatever reason end up being like Daniel Jones coming in less than Dak is like shocking to me in this spot. Or, Judkins coming in at 12% and then, guys like Rachaad White coming in way lower is like, I don't know. So in a single entry like this, to get these ownerships, I was just really, really happy with. And I think it's an example of, like, you don't need to get that far off of projection. And this team fared well. I mean, it wasn't like a top 10 finish, I think, but it was still good. I mean, because all these players projected well and performed. and yet ownership also came in my favor in my mind. So when I can get a stack that's under, 3% and 9% owned with Warren, I feel really good about that. And then just being able to fill in the rest of it with high projected plays. So yeah, I don't know, just an example of like, you don't need to get crazy.
I had a super similar team to this, like right up before lock, and then I swapped Daniel Jones to Drake May, and I swapped Tet to Diggs with like some different defense, but super similar, like basically same concept, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I played Rashid Shaheed too, so a little bit further off, but like instead of Olave.
Yeah, because if you go back to the 400K, the big spy, go to the one I sent you on that, Davis. So if you look at this team, Olave came in at 14% in that tournament. So Olave.
So Nate, when you look at both of these lineups, clearly what you can see under the ownership differential is the vast majority, like 7 out of 9 in both lineups, are coming in significantly lower than projected. How did you kind of put that together? Was that something you were like thinking about? Like, I really think these guys will come in lower?
Yeah, I mean, no one likes Chris Olave. He projects well, but then people think, oh, he's not good. Like he's not going to get there. People like to play these wide receivers that get steamed. And it's just like, I mean, when you look at Olave versus like who was similar price range, Olave and Bourne. I mean, Kendrick Bourne came in at 8% in this tournament.
Yeah, Kendrick Bourne was a great play. I was like considering trying to play Bourne or Jennings, and I ended up playing neither. But like, dude, every week some 49ers receiver does really well. Every week, it's just like the math of Shanahan. So it's like if
Juwan Jennings was just telling reporters he had 5 broken ribs.
Not great.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm just trying to build teams that I think come in way less than ownership wise than they should and still project well. And I think,
did you try and do any Pittman, by the way?
I
thought I ended up doing no Pittman teams. I'm like, just what's the point? He just is like the way the Colts run their offense. It's going to be so hard for him to like get the bonus. It's going to be so hard for him to have like a true difference making score. So I'd rather just hope Daniel Jones gets a rushing touchdown and play him with Tyler Warren.
Yeah. I mean, Downs was also like 3% owned. So
yeah, Downs had a huge game.
Yeah. The Indy stack was like crazy underowned. So yeah, I don't know. Just try to find plays that project well that people don't like. And I think that's easier than playing guys like Ibuka or, the guys that everybody wants.
Well, yeah. I mean, every week, the worst play is the $7,200 wide receiver who smashed for 3 weeks in a row. So everyone thinks he's the greatest play of all time, who actually doesn't project that well. Like George Pickens. I don't even know if the Cowboys are on the main slate, but George Pickens next week will be a terrible play. Probably. Like he'll probably be 7,200, which is like the highest George Pickens has ever been priced. And he'll be projected 11% ownership, actual 16%. And he'll just be brutal.
And that was why I played some Trevor Lawrence unstacked in tournaments this week, because I couldn't play Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas is a guy I know. All of the sims are like, oh, he's going to come in at 9, 10%. I'm like, he's going to come in at 15%. He's going to be overowned. And he did, So I was like, I didn't want to play a stack with Lawrence and Thomas. And so
should have just played him with Long, man.
You're trying to score points here, Sammy. Not play.
If you played Hunter Long, zoom out, take a long look in the mirror. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you're subscribed to the Davis Maddock Fantasy Football YouTube channel, and we'll see you guys all back next week.